I'm just gonna throw a couple of things in here real quick, just for for those that are wondering. Here we have an ad. It's Newsweek magazine, and this one here is "My Life as a White Supremacist," about a guy that invaded the Ku Klux Klan. The Ku Klux Klan, these guys are real interesting. The reason I find them real interesting is because they don't like blacks. They have all kinds of reasons why, like suggesting that we're like apes, we're animals, we're subhumans, and I don't know, various other reasons. But the sad part about it is that the Ku Klux Klan really was created because after blacks were freed, or basically not really freed, but when blacks basically were able to live as respectable human beings and were given land and finances to start their own communities, they embraced it, and blacks did go on to form small communities. The sad part was that many whites that were slave owners or slave masters lacked any type of skill. They were not skilled people. They were exploiters. But the slaves were skilled laborers. Some were carpenters, some were shoemakers, some were farmers. Each of them had a skill. Why? Because they were doing all the work and whites were just living off of their labor. They were exploitative individuals. So when these blacks were freed and formed their own communities, they went into business and became pretty much incorporated. So where did that leave the poor whites that were exploiting them? In a bad place. In other words, they ended up gradually devolving into poor white trash. And as such, were very envious and very upset with the situation because they felt that they deserved the fruits of the black man's labor. This is the point at which the Ku Klux Klan was formed, and it was basically a protest group that really had no justifications to protest. So they went into these successful black communities. Sometimes they would set it up to have a white woman go in there and scream rape or I was attacked, and proceed to decimate the community and run the black people out of those communities and take over their businesses. Now, I don't even want to go too much further into that, but I think you can see where that went or where that leads, because it's still happening today in a more sophisticated manner. But that was to show you who the Ku Klux Klan were. Now, if you know history, you know that even during slavery, a lot of inventions were made by black people. We've made quite a contribution to society. If you look at your traffic light, if you look at your internet, if you look at certain tools that are used today for certain types of labor, a lot of those tools were invented or created by black people. Certain devices, if you go to the refrigerator, if you turn on a light bulb, these were invented by black people. The number of inventions made by black people is incredible. If you ever get a chance to go online or go to the library and look up black inventors, you'll see that quite a few inventors get no applause these days. If you look at surgery, it was a black man that developed open heart surgery. It was another black man that invented the method for blood transfusions. These are things that people don't know. But we have made quite a contribution to society, but yet and still we do not get the one thing that we deserve: respect, dignity, and credit. We don't get that. It's the one thing we do not get as a package deal. We don't get it. You understand me? Because if we were to get that, and if history was to be taught honestly, we'd be walking around with so much pride, so much self-worth, that it would be hard for them to enslave our minds. And so this is why it is not perpetuated. The truth is not perpetuated. You know what I'm saying? It's not promoted. It gets no play. Okay? There's so much to tell you. That's why when you look at the Ku Klux Klan, these people, they have contributed nothing to society. They go around belly aching all day long. They hate black people. Why? They want to bring slavery back. Why? So that they can sit on their behinds and again reap the rewards of their oppression of a peoples, because they're lazy. That's it. They're lazy. And if you study most of the members of the Ku Klux Klan, they're usually very uneducated, led by one educated individual, because they have no sense of what's really going on. And then they'll hold the Bible up, not knowing the origins of the Bible and its connection with the Temple of Dendera in Kemet or Egypt, or the writings on the inner walls of the temple. You see, so this goes to show you how little they know. Because if you was to go and look at the Middle East was primarily populated by what? People of Shemite, what, Semitic origin or Hamitic origin, dark-skinned people. The Caucasoid was in Europe. So the Bible has nothing to do, except for the fact that they showed you where the Romans were oppressing people, and the Romans have a Caucasoid origin. They were the oppressors again in the Bible. But as far as the people that were looking for peace, and think about this, even when white people are looking for spiritualism or to get in touch with their inner selves, do they ever look to Europe? No. They look where? To the Caribbean. They look to the Middle East. They look to Africa. So what does that tell you? What does that tell you about them as a people? They can't find peace within themselves, and they can't go to themselves to find peace. They have to go back to their parents, because we are the parents of the white race, whether they want to admit it or not. Their origin was in the East. Hotep. This is the Nimrodan, and I'm just touching on the Ku Klux Klan. These so-called white knights that don't have a clue about who they are or where they came from. But they're angry with the world, and they're uneducated, have no sense, and make no sense. But they're always ready to commit violence, which is their nature. I think that pretty much says it. Moving right along. Here's another Time magazine piece. I want you to see this. This is why I'm talking about the Matrix, because they're talking about in the year 2045, man will become immortal. But if you look at the picture closely, you'll notice that there's some of it's torn. There's a jack in the back of his head. There's an electrical jack going into his head. Why? Because he has to be programmed. He will be programmed. In other words, it's hardwired. See, we're programmed today, but it's through the television screen, because we learn by pictures, and pictures also hypnotize and inform, which means form abstract and conceptual ideas within the mind. But here they got a hardwire going straight to your mind. They can jack it and plug it in and just push all that information in and form you into what they want you to be. This is 2045. So in essence, man will be immortal, but he will also be a robotized slave. Hotep. Pay close attention to these pictures. This guy here, it's election time, and this guy right here, Mitt Romney, he says, what? Why don't they like me? Well, I think they don't like you because why? You belong to a group known as Mormons. And in Mormon religion, it says that what? Black people will never go to heaven. Black people can never be priests. Black people are what? They are agents of Satan, and we're on this planet to do Satan's dirty work. So, I mean, if it's that racist, and you still have some blacks that belong to this church, obviously brainwashed, I mean, come on, who's going to like you? Because you're nothing more than a bunch of closet racist people, Mormons. And if you ever look at the story of this guy and how he founded the Mormon religion with these so-called golden tablets, this Moroni cat, I mean, come on, man, this whole thing sounds corny. He met an angel by the name of Moroni that gave him some gold tablets, and they investigated some of the scrolls and writings of the founder of the Mormon church and found that some of these writings were incohesive and incomprehensible and some other word, but they were all in something or the other. But in other words, it was straight garbage. That's all I'm going to say. It was straight garbage, you know. But the guy founded a religion and people are following. That just goes to show you that sometimes if you get enough people in a group, you'll have more control over them than if you had to control people individually. That's been scientifically proven. Hotep. Well, nah, I'm not going to show that one. Yeah, see, when I look at these magazine covers, you know, I have to address certain issues. But it's a lot going on in this society right now. There's the other one, I can't find it, but that's the guy Dave Dukes, and he's also running for president, and he's a high-ranking member of the Ku Klux Klan. So how are you going to wonder why folks ain't voting for you? But this is what President Obama is up against. Okay, our president is up against a bunch of closet racists, and if one of these peoples wins, it's not going to look too good for us as far as our future position as free human beings on this planet, because they're already building up the prison industrial complex to house more prisoners, because they foresee a future where rehabilitation is not a foreseeable event. It's not productive. You see, in order for you to have workers willing to take these low tier jobs like mopping floors and cutting grass and washing dishes and any of these jobs that working in warehouses and just labor jobs. In order for you to have labor jobs, you got to have people with very few career choices. And so the more that you do to facilitate that, the more predictable the outcome. So let's say you have high penalties for crimes. Now you need to be able to encourage people to commit these crimes. So you create scenarios of desperation in which these people will commit these crimes, and then you create a record for them, and then you create a title for them like felon, and so nobody wants to hire a felon, and so the only place felons can get work is in these very low tier jobs. Some felons are in positions where they can't get work at all. See, but non-skilled workers are generally felons, or that's the way they're trying to make it. I shouldn't even say that because that's not true. But most low-tier jobs are not wanted by your average individual. Maybe that sounds better. All right, I'm about to cut that out of this tape. Shizzle.